The man who conquered himself. Most men spend their entire lives fighting the wrong enemy. They fight other people. They fight competition. They fight circumstances. They blame their past, their environment, their luck. But the hardest battle has never been outside of you. It has always been inside. Because the person who can destroy your future faster than anyone else is the version of you that chooses comfort today. The version that says tomorrow. The version that reaches for the phone instead of doing the work. The version that knows exactly what needs to change but keeps making excuses anyway. And the terrifying part is that this version of you doesn't look dangerous. It looks comfortable. It looks harmless. It tells you to rest for 5 more minutes, watch one more video, start Monday, skip today, you deserve a break. And then one day you look back and realize those 5 minutes became 5 years. This is the battle nobody sees. You can be surrounded by people and still be fighting a war inside your own mind. One part of you wants the future. Another part wants comfort right now. One wants discipline. The other wants dopamine. One wants to become stronger. The other wants to stay exactly where it is. And every day you cast a vote for one of them. That's why conquering yourself isn't about becoming emotionless. It isn't about becoming some machine that wakes up at 5 a.m. and never struggles. It's something much harder. It's learning to act according to what you value, even when your feelings are pulling you somewhere else. And there's a reason this is so difficult. Your brain learns patterns. When you repeatedly escape discomfort by scrolling, procrastinating, avoiding difficult work, or giving in to impulses, that behavior can become automatic. Research on self-control and habit formation suggests that people who consistently reach their goals often rely less on heroic moments of willpower and more on habits and environments that make good behavior easier and temptation less powerful. So the first step isn't to become stronger than every temptation. It's to stop putting yourself in unnecessary battles. If your phone destroys your focus, don't keep it beside you and brag about your willpower. Put it somewhere you can't reach. If you always skip training because you wait until you're motivated, decide the time before the day begins. If you constantly fall into the same distraction, change the environment that triggers it. Real self-control isn't always about resisting temptation. Sometimes it's about making temptation harder to reach in the first place. But even after you change your environment, there's another enemy waiting for you: the need to feel ready. Most people think disciplined people feel motivated before they act. Usually it's the opposite. They act first and the feeling catches up later. You don't need to feel like studying before you study. You don't need to feel like training before you train. You don't need to feel confident before you begin. Action creates evidence. Evidence creates confidence. Confidence makes the next action easier. That's how you begin changing the relationship you have with yourself. Start keeping small promises. If you tell yourself you'll train for 20 minutes, train for 20 minutes. If you say you'll read 5 pages, read 5 pages. If you decide you'll work for 30 minutes without touching your phone, do exactly that. Don't make promises that sound impressive. Make promises you can keep. Because every time you keep a promise to yourself, you're building something more valuable than motivation. You're building self-trust. And every time you repeatedly break your own promises, you teach yourself that your words don't mean much. This is why transformation often starts with something incredibly small. Not because small actions are magical, but because consistency gives your brain repeated evidence of the person you're becoming. Beneficial habits can reduce the amount of conscious effort required to keep pursuing long-term goals. Now think about temptation differently. Imagine you're sitting down to work. Your phone lights up, you hear a notification. Your brain immediately wants to check it. Most people think the battle is whether they open the phone, but the real battle started earlier. It started when they allowed the phone to become the easiest source of stimulation in the room. So don't just fight the final impulse, change the battlefield. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Move distractions away. Make your workspace boring enough that your brain has only one obvious thing to do. And then there is another level of self-mastery, learning to tolerate discomfort without immediately escaping it. You don't need to love discomfort. You need to stop treating it like an emergency. The first few minutes of a difficult workout hurt. The first pages of a difficult book feel slow. The first attempts at a new skill can make you feel stupid. That's normal. You're BIs.